When most people think about Pokemon, they think about the video games. But there is another thing that other people like to think about when they hear Pokemon, which is the anime series, which has been on since the 90s and it's still going on and it's still fresh sometimes. Though, what's also popular is the Pokemon movies. Starting from 1999, there has always been a Pokemon movie every year, and it's always featured the newest legendary or mythical Pokemon of the time that has come out. And some have been good movies, some have been bad movies. And right now, I'm here to talk about what I think are my favorite Pokemon movies. Before I start, let me get this out of the way. These movies aren't cinematic masterpieces. I know the Pokemon movies don't get praise from the critics, but I wanted to look back at these movies as a nostalgia trip because it's been years since I've last seen a Pokemon movie. So, let's get started. The first one I want to mention is Kyurem and the Sword of Justice. Now, this was the very last one I saw before I kinda stopped watching the Pokemon movies, and I did hear they've been getting a bit better recently, but after this one they've been getting worse, so I guess I got lucky for stopping at this one. But basically the story talks about Keldeo and how he's basically the Pokemon in training under the wise Kabalion, Terrakion, and Virizion. And they train him, but they say he isn't ready to take down Kyurem, which, if he does, it will prove that he is one of them. So, even though he's unexperienced, he tries going for him, and fails, getting his horn chopped off. And he runs into our heroes, and they basically try to get him back for a rematch while bad things happen, and they have to avoid it. Yeah, that's basically it. You're gonna hear me explain plots badly because I haven't seen these movies in forever. I'm just trying to remember how they were, but if I remember with this one, the story was alright. What I liked about it was mostly the interactions between Keldeo and our heroes. I guess it was just really nice and very sweet, and I guess all the scenes where something was not at stake, I think those scenes were actually really sweet and fun to watch, and I think that's why I kind of like this one. Like, the story is okay, and you're kind of like not at the edge of your seat with this movie, but I think I just say it for the interactions between our main characters. I thought that was pretty sweet. The next movie on my list is Jirachi Wishmaker. I can remember this one being really good. Like, I think Jirachi is one of my favorite Pokemon, and yeah, I think that's one reason why I really like this movie. And basically, in this movie, Jirachi is normally awakened every 1,000 years to only be awake for a week, and as of course in his name, he can grant any wish he wants, and of course, some bad people can use it to their advantage, so our main heroes find him and try to protect him while also bringing him back to his cave to hibernate once again, and they have to do it within a week, and once again, not until the very end, not much is at stake. Like, the very middle of the movie's kind of average, though when it gets near the end, you're kind of at the edge of your seat. But, I guess, trying to remember this movie, jeez. I think Max is a bit of a brat in this movie. Also, this movie tries to be a bit emotional too, with the whole losing friends kind of thing, but when I think about it, it makes no sense. Like, apparently Max is afraid of losing Jirachi, even though he's only gonna know this Pokemon for a week, and Ash makes the example. It's not clear, but he basically makes, like, Misty an example, but I'm like, you've been friends with Misty much longer, and you've even met her from time to time, so I don't even think it's a good example. But either way, I find this better than Keldeo because there was more at stake, I felt, but it's an alright movie. You might want to give this a little watch if you're very curious about this one. Next will probably be the end of what I call the average or okay Pokemon movies before we get to the very good ones, and that is Zoroark Master of Illusions. Now, of course, I do like Zoroark because look at his design. It's just badass and really awesome, and I think like with Keldeo, what stands out about this movie is the interactions between the main Pokemon and our heroes, because Zora is really playful and mischievous, and since it knows illusion, it'll like to take the form of either Pikachu or one of Ash's friends, and it's really goofy, and it's kind of funny when Zora tries to look like Dawn because it would always anger her, and that was kind of cute. And besides that, once again, not much is at stake here. Like, I forgot there's like a Celebi side plot where this man's trying to get Celebi because he can gain time traveling powers. I guess that could lead to a very dangerous conflict, but I don't think the movie makes it very interesting. It also does try to be like this kind of Bambi-ish thing where it's just kind of like, oh no, Zora's missing her mother, and the Zora had a name for the Zoroark, but for the life of me, I can't remember.
Mima, Mima, Mima's Mima, 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 Mima's Mima, Mima, Mima.
It tries to be kind of like this Bambi thing where, oh, it's very sad because they miss each other, though we kind of know in the end, oh, they're gonna get back together. And I honestly forgot, like, the very, very end of the movie. Like, I know the end of the climax, I just don't know, like, the end of the movie, like what happens to them. But again, I haven't seen these movies in forever, and yeah, enough with the okay ones. Now we get to the really good ones. To start off my list of the really good Pokemon movies that I do enjoy is Lucario and the Mystery of Mew. This was probably the most recent one I've seen. It's not the newest, but it's the most recent one, and this was good. Like, this is a good Pokemon movie. And what happens in this movie is our heroes do this festival, and Ash wins this tournament, which gets him something special, and he gets this staff with a crystal, and something happens, and a Lucario emerges from it after being hibernated for hundreds of years after a Pokemon war. And the other side plot is Mew comes floating around the area and kidnaps Pikachu and Meowth as Ash tries to save them. So it's basically Ash is trying to find Pikachu again, and of course Team Rocket's trying to find Meowth because they of course need some entertainment. But along the way, we learn more about Lucario and his past, and he feels like his old owner betrayed him by putting him in the staff, and some other things happen, and Lucario has these ideas that humans and Pokemon cannot be friends because of what happened to him, and it is kind of interesting, and you do feel invested with what each character goes through, like with what Lucario goes through, and yeah, like I said, this one I felt was a good Pokemon movie. Like, if I say you should watch a Pokemon movie, this is one of the ones I would recommend. And of course, it does have its humor and all that stuff. And the scenes where Mew is showing off the tree to Meowth and Pikachu, that scene is really cute because it's Mew, it's adorable. And of course, the ending, I'm going to put up the sign right here. Skip to this timeline because I really don't want to spoil this movie for you because I really do think you should see this one. Okay, you ready? Okay, so the ending is a bit heartbreaking, though at the same time you kind of roll your eyes because we find out that Lucario's old owner sacrificed himself and put Lucario in the staff to save him, and it's really sad, and the tree is crumbling, and basically one of them has to sacrifice themselves, and Ash tries doing it, though since they've done it in the first Pokemon movie, you're like, oh really, Ash is gonna sacrifice himself and die, and there's not gonna be no more Pokemon movies. And then of course Lucario shoves Ash out of the way, finishes the job, and he basically turns in the crystal like what his old owner did. And it is heartbreaking, and it is sad how the movie just ends right there, honestly. Though, of course they added scenes in the credits so we get a bigger ending, and, okay, there is something that is really heartbreaking, but it doesn't make sense. Again, part of the spoilers, but, there's a scene where Lucario's just sitting and he's all sad, and then Max comes up and gives him some chocolate, and kind of cute and goofy. And then at the end of the movie, we see that in the afterlife, his old master and Lucario reunite, which is heartbreaking. And then you see the master take a bite of chocolate, and you're like,
What?
but anyway, I think this was a really good Pokemon movie, and that for those who are curious about how they are, this is one of the ones they need to see. Like, I can't, I liked this movie more than I thought I did now that I'm talking about it. Jeez. For my second to last Pokemon movie that I'll be talking about is Pokemon Heroes. When I think about it, I think like Lucario, it's another better made Pokemon movie, and what happens is Ash joins this water racing festival and he comes across this mysterious young girl, and he follows her into this garden where we find out that the legendary Pokemon Latios and Latias defend the city, and they have a couple human caretakers that try to protect them, and we find out that when the city was once being attacked, there was a father Latios that sacrificed himself, and now his soul is in the Soul Dew, which is an item in the video game. And when Ash kind of learns more about the two Latios and Latias, there are these two female villains who are trying to take the Soul Dew for themselves for some reason, and I guess if it gets into the wrong hands, something bad happens, like, and again, you feel like something's in danger because Latios gets kidnapped and is getting tortured, and then Latios basically flies in and kind of tells him what goes on, and then Ash goes off and tries to save the day, and of course I started to really like Latios, especially after seeing this movie. I think Latios is one of my favorite legendaries, but all the characters are pretty interesting, like the two caretakers, and then of course all the scenes when they're interacting with each other. Like, there's a scene where Pikachu and Latios are like playing with each other, and that scene's kind of cute, though once again, the ending is probably the saddest ending in any Pokemon movie. Again, spoilers here. So, the storm gets recreated and a ginormous wave is going to hit the town. So it's up to Latios and Latias to work together and stop the wave. And then we find out that Latios sacrificed itself, and there's a really heartbreaking scene where they're in like this void and you clearly see Latios is a spirit, and you basically see both Latios and Latias part ways, and like, I honestly think I like cried like emotionally because of how heartbreaking it was. And then of course Latios is still alive, and yeah, so again, really good Pokemon movie. The animation looks really nice because it's another one of those, they try to fuse it with CG, because I think they tried doing that for a period of time. And then, again, very interesting, good characters, good story. Another one I'd highly recommend watching. And finally, for my favorite Pokemon movie, I put Arceus and the Jewel of Life. Now, I did hear this was like one of the better Pokemon movies, and I do have to agree. I feel like out of all the Pokemon movies, this had maybe the biggest and most grand adventure. Like, it may not be the biggest challenge Ash has ever faced, but it certainly feels that way. Like, something was at stake here. So, this is supposed to conclude the Sinnoh trilogy, because there was the Darkrai movie, the Giratina movie, and now the Arceus movie. And what happens is, Arceus is awake from his slumber, and he's basically going to destroy the Earth, but the three legendaries are going to stop him, and basically Dialga sends our heroes back in time to when Arceus got this mindset, and basically they're going to try to fix time, because we watch a flashback and we soon find out stuff wasn't how it was supposed to be. Again, more is at stake here. I do think it's kind of sweet because we meet this new character, and then when we meet another character from back in time, we find out they're related, and I think it's really sweet, and they have to work together. And then, of course, your heart's kind of racing because you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, time is running out, all this bad stuff is happening. yeah, it was just so grand, and everything feels like all the good things of a Pokemon movie fused into one movie. Good characters, great story, enough cute scenes where it's literally just a Pokemon. Like, when I look back at the Pokemon series and movies, some of my favorite scenes involve just the Pokemon interacting with one another. Like, it could have zero dialogue whatsoever, and I'll still be entertained by it. And of course, it's just, I think this one's my favorite because it just mixes everything that's good about a Pokemon movie into one movie, and it's just gripping, entertaining, cute, and I will say this is another one you should watch, though I feel like you have to have some knowledge on Pokemon before seeing this one, because then it's just gonna make no sense. Like, I feel like Lucario is the one you should start off with if you know nothing about it, and then the other ones you should watch if you have some knowledge on it. But yeah, just a great movie, and it's my favorite Pokemon movie of all time. And those are my favorite Pokemon movies. Again, thanks for watching. If you guys liked this video, don't forget to leave a like, and if you want more content from me, press the subscribe button and you'll be notified on new videos that I pull up. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.